Welcome to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast. I'm Mike Waters. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by former Syracuse basketball player Eric Devendorf. Eric and I talked about Syracuse's run to the Sweet 16, what is the difference between the Orange now versus a month ago, and we go into Eric's off-season workouts with Syracuse guard Buddy Boeheim.
Okay, well, welcome back to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast, and this week we got a great guest. Former Syracuse basketball player Eric Devendorf, and we're going to talk a little bit about Syracuse's two wins in the first two rounds of the NCAA tournament over San Diego State and West Virginia, and look ahead to a Sweet 16 matchup against Houston. And Eric, you were in Indianapolis. I sound a little bit like the guys on that commercial with Indianapolis. Charles and Spike and the guys.
Yeah.
But you were there in Indy. What was that like for you to be there? Because, you know, obviously Syracuse fans, nobody's been able to go see this team in person all season long. And now you get to go see them beat San Diego State and West Virginia in person.
Oh, man, first off, it was just great to be able to go to some live basketball in person. It was good to see the crowd, and it was pro Cuse as always. I mean, Cuse travels so well, and it was good to see our guys go out there and really compete. And I think the crowd, even though it was only like maybe 1,500, I think the crowd had a big effect. I mean, you could hear people, you know, and I think it gave those guys energy, and you could tell over those first two games, and it was really fun to watch.
What is the difference in this team, or differences, between how they're playing recently over these last 2 weeks or so versus how they were playing back in, God, as recently as late January, early February even?
Well, I mean, first off, I think these guys are just playing tougher. You know, they're getting after it. They're more physical, and that started. You can go back to the North Carolina Clemson games. Even though we got our rebound against North Carolina, it was something different. They were just going after it. They were competing, and obviously the defense. People, the guys know their rotations now. Earlier in the season, we're still learning the zone. We're learning the rotations. Guys are kind of trying to figure out their roles, and I think roles are more cemented, and guys are figuring out the zone better. I mean, you look at guys like Robert Braswell coming in and having the impact that he's made, and not only shooting the ball, but just defensively. More importantly, I think he's one of the guys who really knows the rotations, and but overall, guys just know their roles. We're playing harder, we're competing. And then, as we saw these last two games, the zone is active. We've had our lapses, but I think consistently, we're playing better there. We're rebounding, and then, when we're able to, make shots like we have been with Buddy, and then you see Joe coming on, we're a good team. We're a team that, come tourney time, as Mike, that zone, it's different. It just seems to, start hitting on all cylinders. So. It's been fun to watch, and I don't think anyone thought we would have been in this spot.
Certainly not me. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the zone. In the postseason, when teams that maybe haven't seen a lot of zone, certainly haven't seen the Syracuse zone ever, when they run up against it and then Syracuse wins and then Syracuse wins again, does the zone start to get in the head of other teams, the players on the other team? Does it kind of become this boogeyman sort of thing? Like it freaks them out?
I mean, I think sometimes, teams can just overthink it, overpass it instead of just taking those opportunities, right? You've got an open shot, you're going to take it. And then a lot of times teams could get jump shot happy and just start, jacking up threes and living and dying by the threes. I think for me, obviously you got to get in the high post, you got to attack the short corners and try to get in those areas and then make decisions out of those areas. But you got to have the personnel too. Like as we saw against West Virginia, a lot of times he got it in the middle and then he didn't know what to do in there. He got caught. Marek drew two charges on him. So it's tough, man, especially when you haven't faced it. And even when you have faced it, I mean, Bob Huggins, he's faced his own, it's, but the personnel is a big thing too. And yeah, that zone is different come tournament time.
Who's the last player from that Syracuse that you remember that's so willing to give up parts of his body like Marek?
Well, you know what? Christophe Ogeron.
Okay.
I think he's a similar as far, obviously Marek, he's he's a better player, Marek is, but I think as far as just giving their body up and diving on the floor and he was similar, but Marek he's special, man. I mean, he's one of those guys who, he doesn't have to score to make an impact in the game, and that's rare. And then he can push the ball, he can make decisions. Probably, one of the best, if not the best, decision maker on the team. So Marek has been great for these 4 years, and even yesterday, he didn't score a lot, but he drew those 2 charges. He's making great passes. He's getting guys in their spots. He's just a great player.
When I saw Jim Boeheim send Marek back into that game against West Virginia with like 12 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and he has 4 fouls, that told you everything, right? About not only
Absolutely.
like the moment, and like Jim felt like the game's being won or lost right now, and he could not have Marek on the bench during that time. And Marek then plays the rest of the game without picking up his 5th foul.
And that just shows the confidence that coach has in Marek. And coach says it. You hear coach talk about him all the time. He's a great player. He loves to coach him. He loves to coach guys like that who just know the game. And Marek knows he has 4 fouls. So for him to be able to play, 12 minutes in the NCAA tournament game against West Virginia with 4 fouls, I mean, that's pretty impressive, and still have an impact.
Right.
Like you said, he had a big impact down the stretch making those passes, and he always had to be aware in the back of his head, I have 4 fouls, so he can't, pick a silly one up. But man, just the confidence the confidence that coach has in Marek. I think Marek can feel that as well, and it shows out on the floor.
Does any player feed maybe off the crowd more than Joe Girard? Because, man, he has looked completely different in these 2 games out there than he did almost all season.
Well, I told you, man, the crowd had an effect.
Okay.
I think for all, not only for Joe, but for all the players. But I think Joe is one of those guys that, he feeds off that. Absolutely. He hits a big shot. I mean, he hit a shot from the logo yesterday, and, the crowd went crazy. It was like, it felt like it was, 20,000 people in the dome, so, I think he's starting to, he likes that. He likes the pressure. He likes the challenge. It's tournament time. We talked about the crowd, he's feeding off that, and we need him. We need him going forward. And not only is he scoring the ball, but he's playing a good floor game. He's getting rebounds. He's setting up people. And, the only thing for me, I think when he starts to feel that pressure, instead of turning your back, just go ahead and get by and make a play. Don't play side to side with it. But he's been great, man, and I think he's going to continue that play.
You mentioned this guy a few minutes ago, but I want to come back to him. Robert Braswell.
Yeah.
It's not just making threes now. And we know he got off to a bad start in the season, but that, he's coming off the bench. He's taking like 1 3-pointer in garbage time. It's pretty easy to get to 0-12 pretty quick when you're in that role. But so he's making the shots we always knew he could make. But defensively and rebounding, he is just playing so well on the back end of that zone. Did you see this coming?
Well, that's why he's playing. Like you said, we know he can shoot the ball, but he was missing a couple, and then he's just getting pulled right away. So it doesn't really. I guess it doesn't really count. But he's playing because of his defense and his rebounding. He's the best guy. He's the best forward in the back of the zone as far as knowing the rotations, being there on time, getting in front. You see so many times when, they go to that short corner or that, the corner and we trap. You have to have that opposite forward come over and, get that dive guy coming down the middle or get in front of that, that big guy right there. And he does the best at it. He's getting deflections, and I think, he understood what he had to do to play. You know what I mean? Okay, this is what I have to do. And now he's getting more time. Now he's hitting shots. Now now it's all coming together. And, without Robert, even yesterday, he hit a big shot, has, big defensive plays. We're not the team we are without him.
All right, I've been holding off on getting to this guy. We got to talk about Buddy Boeheim, right? You worked out with Buddy a lot, and it's been written about and talked about that like during the COVID shutdown last summer and everything, that you were over at the Boeheim's house, sneaking in the back door to the gym and working out with Buddy. Anything from those workouts tell us anything about what he's doing now?
For me, I mean, his whole game has evolved you see it from a freshman to now. It's, his floor game, being able to put it on the ground. It's, he's at a whole nother level. But for me, it's his confidence. He's more vocal. You could see it. He's, I'm a brash guy out on the court, right, to say the least, right? But for him, he doesn't have to do all that. I just want him to be a leader, be vocal, take that next step, because that's what separates good from great. And now you see his confidence is through the roof. He's at another level. After the game, he's yelling at the crowd, and I mean, it's awesome to see, man. And that's just all the hard work, all the extra reps, and he's working with a guy like GMAC every single day. I mean, it's the same mindset, And then you come to, and I get to work you out. I mean, me and GMAC have the same mindset. We're killers out there. So, I think he's kind of developed that, and he's believing in himself. And it shows, man. I mean, who would have thought he would have done this, coming into high school, and people doubted him, man. It's so unbelievable to see. It's a great story. It's a great story, and it's a testament to his hard work.
This is a guy that his own father says that has earlier, when he's younger, was underconfident. Older brother Jimmy was the confident one.
Yeah.
Buddy's a little underconfident. They always had to boost his confidence. And then when I see him in the San Diego State game on camera, and you read his lips, and he says something that I would have associated with Eric Devendorf.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I don't think he has a confidence problem anymore.
Exactly. I mean, we've had some, one-on-one wars, me and him and Jimmy just going at it. And, I'm not holding back. I'm saying what I say, Mike, when I play, so, hopefully that rubbed off on him a little bit. And Jimmy's the same way. Jimmy has that in him as well. So, no, I mean, it's unbelievable to see. And I think the coaching staff has done a great job, not only with Buddy, but Jesse. I mean, Braz, and I mean, we see the development of Jesse. Yesterday, we talk about, just his presence out there, Jesse. So,
yep.
It's awesome to see these guys develop.
All right, I want to read you a couple numbers here. Stats for Buddy. First 15 games of this season, averaging 14 points and making 31% of his threes. In the last 8 games, 24.2 points per game, on 48.8% three-point shooting. Eric, this isn't just a couple of good games in a row. This is 8 now. What is the difference between Buddy now in these last 8 games versus the first 15 games of the season?
And I think I read some even that said the last 11 games, it was like 22.5. So like, I mean, it's an incredible run, and this isn't a fluke thing. You know what I mean? This is a testament, like we said, to his hard work. And, I mean, I remember texting him like, man, just proud of you how you kept fighting. People in the beginning of the season were doubting you, and you're going through the COVID stuff and all the pauses, and you just stayed in the gym. You kept with it. You focused, and look at you now. I mean, you're doing this. You're doing, not only did they not expect you to do this, but you're doing stuff that the greats at SU did. This is the category you're putting yourself in, like these numbers that you're talking about. Like those are what some of the greatest players in SU history did.
Oh, you're right. If anybody else is putting up these kind of numbers in the post-game press conferences, somebody, probably me, is going to have to ask him if he's thinking of going pro.
And he's put himself in that conversation. I mean, I saw, some of the mock draft guys on Twitter talking about he's putting himself in a second round draft pick consideration, and he still has one more year left. So I mean, it's amazing to see.
He can make 2 more.
Okay. So they can. Okay. I didn't know if it was only for seniors.
Lawrence Moten's record is in serious jeopardy.
I mean, what an unbelievable story, man. Just like his father, his son, like I don't know. Sometimes it kind of, for me, it just makes me speechless sometimes, because it's like you're almost in awe of it. You know what I mean? Like, to see this, and man, what a good kid. It couldn't happen to a better kid. He deserves all of it. He's just a hard worker.
Well, listen, Eric, it's been great to have you come on here and talk about this team. We can't leave, though. We do have to look ahead here. Saturday night, Syracuse gets Houston, the number 2 seeded Cougars. I don't know if you've seen much of Houston this year, but how do you see that game? And what is Syracuse going to have to do to advance one more round further?
I mean, I haven't seen Houston a ton. I know they're well coached. Calvin Sampson, I mean, he's an unbelievable coach. They have the transfer from Kansas, Quentin Grimes, he's an unbelievable player.
Mm-hmm.
They're the second seed for a reason, right? I mean, we're going to have our work cut out for us. I know one thing, they haven't faced the zone. I think Calvin did back in the NCAA tournament when he played for Oklahoma, the year that in 2003 when we beat them. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. You know, I think if we can just come in and really set the tone defensively and be active and be physical, get on the boards, you know, offensively, it's just going to come, you know. So, hey, we're putting ourselves in consideration, man. It's each game you're like, wow, let's keep it going. So it's been a great run. It's a great story. This season right here is, I don't know, I always say it about every season, but this season just seems, man, with everything going on, it's super special. You know, it's pretty unbelievable to watch. It's fun.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see how they go as they hit the Sweet 16 against Houston on Saturday. Eric, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it very much. Good catching up with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Mike.